Greetings, friends. Our readings for this Sunday uh, really focus on Jesus and what kind of a king he is. In the Zechariah passage, we see, look, your king is coming, a righteous king. That word righteous is a very important word, okay? Um, when we talk about righteousness, the Hebrew word is tzaddik or justice, mishpat. These words really take you back to the law. And the center of the law of the five books in the Pentateuch is Leviticus. And in the center of Leviticus is the law is in 19, which, and if you go look at the middle verse of that, you'll find out in the heart of the Gospels is this: you shall love your neighbor as yourself. And then in that same chapter, you shall love the stranger as yourself. Okay, which means not an emotional thing, what it really means is that we have this innate instinct to do the best we can for ourselves, right? Well, the law is teaching us that we also should have that innate spontaneous instinct for others as we have for ourselves. Isn't that paradise? If we all could do that? Well, we all can do that because we have Jesus, okay? So that's what it means to be a just king, okay? Thank God we have a just king. If we start off with a just king, maybe we can become just too. And in fact, that's what Jesus is in the gospel. You see that Jesus is revealing his secret to babies and infants, okay? And part of the reason, I just think babies, babies can get pretty messy, or young babies, when they're, they can get in fights and stuff like that too. But, for the most part, it's so easy for the children to get into each other's world. Very easy. And it's not easy for adults to do that at all. And that's what I think Jesus is saying, get into another person's world. And that's the first step, really, of really loving your neighbor as yourself. And he says, come to me, learn from me, for I am meek and lowly of heart. In other words, I am the embodiment of tzaddik, mishpat, justice, righteousness, loving our neighbor as self. Because, hey, Jesus didn't have to come down here. He's not obligated to help us out, but he does because he loves us. And he's really, really keen on us being like him, meek and lowly of heart. Take my yoke upon you. I like to understand that is that yokes are usually for two animals, and there's you, and Jesus is on the other yoke. He says, hey, listen, I'm going to help you out to do this sort of thing because I know you need help. And that takes us, to the reading in Romans, okay, where we're not supposed to live by the flesh. Now, flesh is a good thing because God created it, right? And he put a stamp of approval on it when he became incarnate in the flesh, okay? So flesh in itself is a good thing, but it's a bad thing to live in the flesh, and living in the flesh is really doing things naturally. If we live in the Spirit, with the Spirit of God in us, then we live supernaturally. And that brings glory to God. And it also helps us to overcome what we might call our fixation on fulfilling the desires of our flesh. Because if we're really fixed on our flesh in that sense of satisfying it, we become very selfish. And it's impossible for us to be just and righteous because we're so fixated on what we can do for ourselves, right? So all these things sort of fit together, I think. I hope it makes sense to you. But that's where I think we'll probably head out and work on for next week. As always, these are always half-baked. So let's see if they get baked by Sunday, okay? See you there. God bless.